Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the pound sign HTGAWT. Take two. HTGAWMIN15. How to Get Away with Murder in 15 Minutes recap. I'm Larry Brown Jr.
And I'm Janiyah Wright, and we're so excited to talk with you tonight. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to recap episode 3 of the fantastic ABC drama, How to Get Away with Murder. The name of the episode is Smile or Go to Jail, and we're going to cover 4 main topics. Number 1, the case of the soccer mom / secret Unabomber. Number 2, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the characters' lives, Michaela.
And after we take the deep dive into Michaela's life, we're going to turn into some ongoing cases that have been going on in the 3 episodes thus far of How to Get Away with Murder. We're going to look at the murder case of Lila Stangard, and we're also going to look at the main question right now, which is kind of like the present from the question from the past, and mixed a couple with the present. Who killed Sam? Who killed Sam? Janiyah, let's go ahead and get started right now with this case with the soccer mom in this episode. And we meet this woman, and ladies and gentlemen, her name is Paula Murphy. Paula Murphy is a friend of Annalise Keating. And Annalise's friends like, represent my friend. And so Annalise's like, okay, I represent your friend. And she represents this friend this woman was like out in the park, and she was like doing all kind of Monica Lewinsky kind of stuff to this man in the park who wasn't her husband. I mean, am I lying, Janiyah?
You're summing it up very well.
Yeah, and so she's in the park doing all this kind of stuff, all these this one kind of lewd act for public, and the feds rode up on her, and they're like, hey, ma'am, what are you doing? We've got to take you in. And so they take her in, and they start asking her these, they do what they do when they book someone and bring them in and arrest them for lewd sex acts in the park. And what happens, they take her fingerprints, run her fingerprints, and I told you her name was Paula Murphy, right? Well, as it turns out, this woman's real name is Elena Aguilar, and they found this out because they ran her fingerprints, and they also had evidence. Well, they had a photo of her in the file. Janiyah, tell us more about what happened with Paula or Elena or whatever her name is.
Right. So during the course of this trial, where again Paula's on trial for this lewd act in the park, and again, Annalise, that's no sweat for her. She gets that case thrown out within 11 seconds. And then there they are going about their merry way, only to find out this huge exposure that there is this alias out there for Paula of Elena Aguilar. Elena Aguilar, LBJ, is, actually the antithesis of Paula Murphy. Paula Murphy is soccer mom, 2 kids, devoted wife, also slinging in the park, but we can talk about that a little later. Now,
she sends me swinging.
Yes, she does. Then, all the way on the other end of the spectrum, we have Elena Aguilar, her former personality, one of 5 people involved in a bombing that occurred 20 years ago. Long story short, in order to try to acquit Paula Murphy from this bombing, where again, the state is saying she is guilty, she was a part of this bombing, they go and they look to one of the accomplices in the bombing that's currently in prison. His name is Gabriel. They go and talk with Gabriel, and Annalise says to Gabriel, we need you to come and be on the witness stand for Elena. And we need you to say, you know what, Paula / Elena was not involved in this bombing. Let her walk free. Even if she was involved, let her walk free. It's been 20 years since this bombing occurred. And Gabriel says, you know what? I love Paula Elena. I've always loved Paula Elena. I'll be happy to let her walk free. They add Gabriel to the witness list only to have Gabriel called by the prosecution. Gabriel does a flip-flop. He's on the witness stand. He points Paula / Elena out as the guilty party. And, of course, gasp across the courtroom, and then a recess is called so that Annalise and her team can get themselves together because of this huge upset on the stand. We look around 5 minutes later, Elena / Paula nowhere to be found. Who else is missing? Gabriel. Flash to additional screen. They have both fled the courthouse, and they are now on a Greyhound bus to who knows where with baseball caps on, which of course, on television hides your entire identity, and they're now going off into the sunset via the Greyhound bus. So,
that is something.
LBJ, this entire case ends up completely unresolved. And the judge says, you know what, banging the gavel, this case is on permanent hold until these two people are found. LBJ, no resolution there. None whatsoever.
The resolution is that they got away with murder. If you ask me, they got away with murder. But
yeah, they did.
But you know what? You said riding off into the sunset earlier. You know who wants to ride off in the sunset, and that is Michaela Pratt. Michaela Pratt, as we know from 2 episodes ago, is she's the sister girl in the classroom, the principal sister girl in the classroom of Annalise Keating. And she's been talking about this fiance, and we finally get to meet Michaela's fiance. Michaela's fiance shows up on the scene, and his name is Aiden. Well, Mr. Aiden seems to have something else in common with one of the other law students in Michaela's class. As it turns out, he's got something in common with Connor, and he and Connor were not friends from back around the way. They weren't, they weren't frat brothers in undergrad. No, they actually were classmates in boarding school as they were coming up through the ranks as young, fine gentlemen in the U.S. of A. And as it turned out, these young, fine gentlemen in the U.S. of A. coming up through boarding school had a little interaction, maybe 1 or 2 more interactions while they were in boarding school. And they jumped off with each other. Connor is a big jump off. We're learning throughout this whole situation.
He really is.
I think we're learning about all the layers of all these different students and this thing. And now we get to dive into Michaela's story. Well, Janiyah, that is crazy about Aiden and Connor.
Yeah, exactly. And I will just say, these twists and turns in these relationships, LBJ, and getting these deep dives into this relationship, it is crazy. There's a point later in the episode where Annalise says to Michaela, you know what, you better be careful who you marry, because if you end up with the wrong person, it is your fault. And of course she is saying, hey, you have clearly found out some secrets about your man, tread lightly. But she's also talking about her own relationship, LBJ, because as you know, she right now, at least in her own mind, her husband Sam is a suspect for what? The Lila Stangard murder, LBJ.
Yes.
You'll recall from the last episode, we have discovered that Sam, Annalise's husband, had a relationship with Lila Stangard while she was alive. And we know that Sam has denied that to Annalise's face. And Annalise has engaged Nate, her man on the side, former man on the side, to go out and check his alibi. And Nate had been working on that in the last couple of episodes. We find out tonight that Nate has discovered that Sam's alibi for the night of Lila Stangard's murder was not solid. Sam was not where he said he was. He was not where he was supposed to be. And he was, in fact, back in Philadelphia, the same place where Lila Stangard was murdered. And instead of going to tell Annalise that, what does Nate do? The scorned man on the side, LBJ?
What does he do? What does he do?
He lies to Annalise. And he told her a story, and he said, Sam's alibi completely checked out. Now, we don't know what Nate's motivation was for this. Was he trying to deceive Annalise to throw her off so that she trusts her husband, who's clearly a murderer? Or was he trying to save their marriage and take some of that skepticism out of their marriage? I'll tell you one thing for sure. We won't find out by the end of this episode, but we do know that by the end of this episode, Annalise has truly been misled by Nate, her former lover.
She was so misled by Nate, her former lover, or her lover, Janiyah, that Annalise was just pining and pining and pining. And she wanted some of the Nate juice as she was, when she found out the information. And Nate rejected her. He rejected Queen Grand Dame, Annalise Keating. And she was awful clamped after that.
She was totally verklempt, LBJ. And you know what? Perhaps if she had not been so verklempt, she might not have let something go under her radar, which was what her student Wes going out here and literally breaking the law, LBJ.
Yes.
Impersonating an attorney to try to help out who? One of the official suspects in the Lila Stangard murder.
But did I not call that? Go back and watch the last episode. Did I not call that this boy was going to try to act like he was an attorney? Did I not call that?
You did call it LBJ. Once again, LBJ's secret connection to Shonda Rhimes and Shonda Land. I mean, you were correct. Because clearly, Wes is so inspired by random mean neighbor Rebecca, who has not treated him nicely in any way, shape, or form. But for some reason, he is literally going to her rescue. He sees that she has been seized, you know? And he literally puts on the most raggediest denim shirt that anyone has ever seen in the United States of America. He puts on a tie that is clearly from where? The dollar store. And he traces himself directly into the courthouse, into the jailhouse, masquerades as an attorney, and he tries to be counsel to Lila Stangard. What
Yeah.
happens after that, LBJ?
Oh, when he walks. Oh gosh, when he walked into the courtroom. Let me go back. I just have to say that. Remember, don't forget, Wes found the cell phone that Rebecca hid in his apartment. Remember that he
That's
found
right.
that cell phone that was pretty telling. He found Lila Stangard's cell phone in his apartment, and it was placed in his apartment by Rebecca. To me, that was completely suspicious, out of the blue, and it made me wonder, why is he still connected to this? Like, is he trying to channel his professor in the work that he plans to do later in his career? I don't know. That just kind of threw me for a loop.
Exactly, exactly. And by the end of this episode, all we know is that this Rebecca left this phone for Wes. Wes has this phone, and we literally at this point, we don't know who the phone belongs to until a little later in the episode, LBJ, when the phone rings, right?
Right. Yes.
The phone rings, and Wes picks up the phone, and it's some random guy asking for who, LBJ? Who?
Lila Stangard.
Lila Stangard. This is Lila's cell phone that's been literally sitting in Wes's apartment, placed there by Rebecca. And it turns out, just based on that little interaction with that stranger who was calling, that Lila Stangard was some kind of drug dealer.
Yep. Yep. It's something. It is something to see. It is so many different layers, because it's got you wondering, like, okay, who's doing this? Who's doing that? Who did this? Why did they do it? And then why does everybody have to connect in some way? And then we figure out, like, okay, so is there a reason that who's the man's voice on the telephone? We've got to figure that out. And Wes is trying to figure out who's the man's voice and what else has this Lila Stangard done.
Exactly, exactly. But meanwhile, we still don't have the password, so we can't get into the phone.
Exactly, that password.
That password. And let me just say, this relationship between Wes and Rebecca is so mysterious because, as we can see here in the past, these two are not connecting at all. Wes masquerades as her attorney. He tries to help her out. She completely rejects him. But when we move forward through time into the present, here is Wes. He's literally so close with Rebecca.
Yeah.
We have a flashback scene. We're now talking about the Sam murder. We have a flash scene here where we're looking at Sam's dead body there at the murder scene, which is the house where the law firm is. And who's sitting there? LBJ, Rebecca. And Wes is what? He's cradling her and comforting her in his arms.
Yeah.
And then, as he continues to comfort her, LBJ, he actually, LBJ, not only does he comfort her, he turns to the other students in the room and he says, you know what? I've got to get Rebecca out of here. The rest of you stay
you're right.
here.
You're right. I forgot about that. Yes.
Start to clean up the murder scene. I got to get Rebecca out of here. Now, we as the viewers were all wondering, what happened? What did Rebecca do? Why is she the only one that gets to get out of there? Why does everybody else have to stay and clean up?
You know what that sound means? We got to stop talking. We only have a few minutes left in this show.
Oh, LBJ, let me just say, I thought we were going to make it. I
did too. We literally have 1 minute and 5 seconds left. We need to talk about ways that you can get away with murder.
Yeah.
How can we get away with murder based on this episode, Janiyah?
LBJ, once again, I mean, I in my murder handbook, I have about 15 notes of ways to get away with murder. They're telling us lots of things. But one thing that you can definitely do if you want to get away with murder is just to pretend to be an attorney and just literally just make up your own little attorney's license and traipse yourself right on into the jailhouse and tell everybody you're an attorney. That's a great way to really get away with murder. What about you, LBJ? From your perspective, how do you get away with murder?
It's very clear that you can get away with murder by plotting and planning your escape from jail over the course of however many years that you were going to be locked up. And then when the day comes, when the day of reckoning comes, when Judgment Day comes, you say, you know what? I've got this ticket. You're going to get me this. You're going to buy me this ticket, and we're together going to put baseball caps on, and we're going to ride off on the bus, and we are going to start a new life. We have 3 seconds left. Thank you for joining us tonight. Janai, you want to say bye-bye?